I got some crazy mining updates today. My name is Vosk. I can't even say my own name. Vosk. Hey, this is my manager, Tails Vosk. And hey, let's go. I got some pretty cool stuff we're working on. So if you've been following you know what? Actually, you know what? Cue the cinematic. So I wanted to share with you my rough plans. Got a write-up on VoskCoin Talk that kind of breaks this down with a couple sketches, written stuff, you know, notes and all that. But obviously we're gonna run through it in the video as well and pull some of that stuff in. Above all, I don't think I'm some super genius. I know that the collection of you all are so much smarter than I could ever be. You know, it's like ChatGPT mining version. Hashtag the VoskCoin subscribers. The coolest people in the world. I really want your input on what I'm doing, any advice, if I'm overlooking something, just share your thoughts with me. So here's the deal though, here's what's going on. I've been expanding my hard drive mining endeavor, okay? And specifically I've been using the Evergreen Miners. I like the Evergreen Miners, they're fun, they're plug and play, easy to deploy, all that kind of stuff. So these have been a great experience. And I have 2 pro kits right now. I've got 2 on order, and then I have plans for more in the future. So you start running the numbers. I mean, that's a very expensive mining endeavor at this point, to the point that I feel like I need to dedicate an area for them where they can, you know, be set to succeed. Specifically, right, they are hard drives. They are not as robust as an ASIC miner like I've got in there. And my mining shed has always been planned, I know, to be for ASIC mining with some GPU mining, CPU mining, and just, you know, whatever else I'll throw at it. I thought about having a clean side and doing kind of what I want to do with the hard drive mining, or it's really Chia farming in there, but it just doesn't really make sense. So I'm thinking about grabbing a shed. Specifically, I'm the shed guy. I can't get away from it. I used to live in a shed. I built a tiny home when I really had nowhere else to go, and I lived in there for 3 years when I was younger. And maybe I just have an affinity for sheds. You know, in the beginning of the VoskCoin journey, turned a shed into my, you know, I call it, I don't know if you can say this anymore, it's probably offensive, but, you know, my redneck data center back then. But my point here is that it's relatively inexpensive and it's relatively maintenance free, especially with vinyl. I'm playing the long game here. So drop a shed, insulate it, seal it up, put a mini split into it. It's an efficient, easy to deploy AC unit. Insulation's cheap as well. I'm dealing with, if I do it this way, 80 square feet. It's not much at all. I could even make it smaller, but I want to put in 2 racks that are about 2 feet wide and 4 feet long, and that gives me a few feet on each side, you know, all the way around. And so I'll pretty much just have them there in the center. And I'm not just going to put 1 mini split, I'm going to put 2, but I'm only going to use 1. So I feel like that's a little over the top, but what it does is it gives me redundancy, and it gives me a way to keep everything running and operational if one of the mini splits goes out, or the main one, the primary one, goes out in the middle of the summer. And with where I want to take this, I mean, it's a serious endeavor. I can't have downtime. Downtime is how you lose. Then you look at the numbers you need to run one of these, right? So the ones I'm looking at consume like 1,000 to 1,300 watts. So with that in mind, I wouldn't need that many solar panels to run that mini split. Furthermore, I want my first solar deployment, which I am just so excited to finally get there. Really, I want to deploy it on the house as soon as possible, as well as deploy it with this endeavor. It just wouldn't be that many panels, because these Evergreen Miners, the pro kits, I mean, we're talking like 100 watts. It's not much at all. I mean, these miners burn like $5 of electricity per month. Okay, the mini split is projected at my electric rate to use about $100 of electricity per month. I mean, the electricity consumption here is low. The heat output, because of that, the more energy you burn, the more heat you make, is low. So, I mean, I view this, I mean, it's interesting, right? You know, some people are like, oh, you're too late to Chia farming, or, oh, you know, there's the halving coming up. Well, there's still plenty of money emitted per day. Chia only recently announced that they're pursuing an IPO, and that's what would really light their project on fire, and when they would hopefully finally spend on marketing. Yes, they do have some pre-mining and all that stuff. I mean, it's not exactly a picture-perfect scenario, but the way I look at it is I'm having fun, and why not? That's not the best pitch. But no, like it's a way to diversify. I mean, I focused on Bitcoin mining as well as some altcoin mining in the pod, and you know, the shed is just going to be more or less of the same there. It's going to be the majority of ASIC mining. This kind of deployment would not work, which is why I completely ditched the cooling concept with ASIC mining. They're too big, they make too much heat, they're too powerful. It's a losing game. That's why everyone uses ambient air cooling or liquid cooling, immersion cooling, right? So I'm using ambient air. I'm just running the air that's around through there, through the building, which goes through the miners, which is so much cooler than what is inside of the miners. Even if it's 100-degree Fahrenheit day out here, this air is going to be so much cooler than how those miners are operating. And that's good enough. That gets it done. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. I'm just looking at, you know, maybe I really like a 1200 BTU mini split. I think would be overkill, but I'm also looking at the 1800 BTU mini split because it's not much more and it doesn't consume that much more electricity. But you know, my takeaway here specifically is like, I'd rather be overpowered and it, you know, has an easy life than, you know, it has to work hard. I'm thinking about actually dropping it right around here, you know, on my mining pad. I'd like to, you know, build the shed on concrete, but, you know, concrete is just so expensive these days. And, you know, it would basically set me up with a cooler, you know, temperature-wise scenario. And it would quite literally be cooler and more sturdy and just better all around. It's probably going to double the infrastructure cost. I mean, I can get into a 10x8 shed with my Amish connection for about $2,000. And that's a lot of money. But if I don't have a proper setup for these and the hard drives start going out, you know, once you factor in the hard drive price and you put on the premium of it being pre-plotted for Chia farming and all that, I mean, it's like $250 a drive. So every drive that goes out from these kits, I'm losing $250. And by the end of the year, I hope to have over 100 hard drives deployed. So I think it warrants a build out like this. Am I a lunatic? I'm gonna die on this dirt out here, so I mean, maybe worst case scenario, one day I move on from using it. But ultimately, Chia farming is one of the most long-term viable forms of mining for the simple fact, if nothing else, that it's so energy non-intensive, right? It's, as long as Chia is pretty much above $40, we're gonna be having a decent time, even above $30. And I'm hoping that this coin 10x's, which could make this miner go from making $60, $80 a month to $800 a month per unit, especially in retrospect. And I'm not just doubling down on mining hardware and mining infrastructure, I'm also grabbing some of the coins. And I hope that doesn't come off shilly, or I'm trying to pump or pimp my bags or whatever, right? I mean, I already got the cutest dog in the world. Hey, what do you think? Tails always comes with me when I'm weeding, and she gets so hyped when I'm weeding. Because a lot of this stuff has just kind of gotten out of hand the last year. So watch. So I'm like, let me take this weed. And so, you know, I'll pluck the weed, and she'll go after every single one. And she kind of brings them back, but she realized that we're plucking so many weeds that she pretty much just goes after it, bites it some, and then rushes back to be ready for the next one. How do you spend your Sundays? In all seriousness though, I'm not trying to waste money. I'm not trying to do something stupid, and I don't want to get in over my head, right? But on the other hand, like, I'm never leaving this location, so this could always be turned into something else. I mean, this could become a server room. I mean, there's so many things I could do with it. I mean, I could even just convert it into a little tiny home, AC cooled, glamping, camping hut, you know, whatever, right? I have a lot of, you know, potential with these things in the future. I love infrastructure. I love buildings. I'm the kid growing up. I was watching a construction video, you know, pushing in the VHS. I bet some of you don't even know what a VHS is. Am I dating myself? But in all seriousness, right? It just, to me, that's how I justify, right? Maybe I'm pitching myself, whatever. And I mean, my plan is crazy simple. I mean, no windows, a door, no vents, no ridge vents, no nothing. I don't want anything on here. And I'm just gonna slap, you know, probably 2 mini splits on the side and insulate it. And I'm gonna throw up some kind of, you know, wall cover. I'm not quite sure, but I need to put up some kind of siding, and that'll just keep it clean. And this is what's cool about mini splits, is they don't take air from the outside, so they're not pushing air in. It's not overflowing. I don't have to worry about this air coming in. Now, where does it escape? It's taking the air in there and then just cycling it through and basically making it cold. So it's turning the hot air colder, right? These are plug and play, temperature based. So, you know, I just set it on, you know, 70 degrees or something and just let it rip. Let these things eat. And really the only other thing I'm gonna put in there, other than obviously, you know, a switch for Ethernet, I need to run some conduit into it, is I'm gonna put in just, you know, some kind of basic air filter. Then it'll clean the air in there, and I should have clean, cool rigs, which should give me the longest lifespan possible with them. Right now they're over in the field building, or what we call VoskCoin HQ over there. And I mean, that thing's not finished, it's dirty, it's never been cleaned, there's all kinds of contaminants in there. There's not a lot of movement in there right now, so it's not kicking a lot of stuff up. I'm not like too worried about them, but it's not a long-term solution. Instead of just telling you, why don't I just time warping, and now I'm up here. And there they are, with an original box fan I used to use on my GPU rigs. I'll never stop mining. Even if I have to make the best coin to mine ever, myself, while everyone's cheering, mining's dead. I won't let it die. And although like I have a heavy focus with the video stuff here on the channel for, you know, can this work in your house? And the Evergreen Miners are absolutely awesome for that, as well as just simply Chia mining rigs, right? I have a very heavy focus moving forward, now that I've got this facility I've been working on, to not bring them into the house. I've been surrounded by miners for closer to a decade. It just gets old, man. It just gets old. I mean, a lot of them make noise, they make heat, they get in the way.
Why is there a mining rig in the bathroom?
Everybody's asking, what's that? And maybe you don't feel like talking about crypto on your day off. I mean, most of the time I do, but you know, when like that cousin or, you know, uncle comes into town, you're just like, man, I don't really even like you. And now I gotta explain all this stuff. You got 900 questions and you don't even subscribe to the channel, man. Again, obviously I'm joking a little bit, but part of the pact, I wanted to respect, you know, our home a little bit more moving forward, because my business has been bleeding into it for over a decade. Because I had a business that turned into another business before this that I left behind to just fully chase cryptocurrency full time. And those businesses were bleeding into the house, you know, way back when as well. And you know, I'll just never forget, like when I got this Panda miner and it's screaming in the garage. And I know, pretty loud, right? I'm here to talk to you today about the Panda miner. I didn't have any kind of cooling solution in there, so I opened the garage door and I was refinishing my bedroom. So I was sleeping in a hallway on a mattress right next to the garage, and it was so loud, it was so hot. I mean, it's like, God, it was like 90 degrees down there. The AC wasn't set up to deal with this. Oh my gosh. And I was trying to conserve money because everything was so freaking tight then. You know, I was on the brink of failure all the time. But anyway, I'm just kind of ranting or droning on. Maybe you don't care about the life story. That's all right. That's okay. So really that's the plan. I'm still trying to work through the internet situation out here. Verizon ran me a line and then they broke it. We got like the C squad out here doing that kind of work. So actually the whole farm is still operating on Starlink. I'm still undecided on what I'm going to do moving forward regarding the internet solution, but I need to make sure that the Verizon Fios line is rock solid, and then I may just move the Starlink to be basically backup internet. I may turn it off and then just redeploy it if something ever happens and I really need it. It's expensive. These bills add up, and mining is absolutely profitable, but it's not crazy. It's not a gold rush right now, and a lot of these expenses just really eat away at you. So that's all I got today. Do you think I'm onto something, or do you think I'm an idiot? You let me know. Hopefully you don't call me an idiot down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you all that watch the videos all the way through, and this is one of the few videos we've shot so far in 4K. Does it make a noticeable difference, or is it a waste of bandwidth? I'll see you on the next one.